Hi everyone, Tu Lee here, one half of the China EVs and More duo. Outside of hosting our weekly live Twitter Spaces room and China EVs and More podcast, Lei and I are always kicking around ideas for new ways to inform you, our audience, on all that's happening around the world in the EV, AV, and mobility sectors. When I approached Lei about launching this podcast a couple of years ago, I had anticipated that what happens in China in these sectors would have huge implications globally. And that's precisely the case, especially in Europe and the United States, the two other largest auto markets. Despite all of the drama of 2022, China was still able to lead the world in NEV sales at around 6.5 million units. And it wasn't even close. That's almost 100% year-over-year growth, by the way. What's more, of the 1.8 million EVs sold in Europe between Q1 and Q3 of 2022, 11% came from Chinese automakers, a significant increase from just 2% in 2020. And that number is only going to grow. That's why it's so important to learn and know more about these companies, executives, brands, products, features, and services that are already hitting your shores. Whether you're a consumer, analyst, consultant, banker, but especially if you're a legacy OEM or Tier 1. I'm pretty confident that there isn't anyone else out there that can provide you with the type of detailed, up-to-date, and accurate coverage, insights, and opinions that Lei and I do. Our audience has grown significantly as the podcasts have piled up. So thank you for listening, being curious, and keeping us honest. I'm very pleased to introduce our latest Max episode, where we bring you conversations we've had with special guests from the EV, AV, chip, battery, and mobility space. For many in the automotive sector, Pininfarina is the epitome of automotive design. Originally established in Turin, Italy in 1930, Pininfarina was a coach builder who built cars for companies like Fiat, Royce and Cadillac. They also pioneered the monocoque or unibody design that is still being used today. A close relationship with Ferrari began in 1951 and ran through 2012, coinciding with Ferrari's ascent to becoming arguably the world's premier sports car automaker. Fast forward to 2015, after going through several years of financial challenges, Pininfarina was acquired for 168 million euros by the Mahindra Group, an Indian conglomerate that has business in not only the automotive space, but also in defense, energy, and IT, just to name a few. This is also around the time that Silvio Angori came on board as the CEO general manager. Pininfarina, over the years, has branched out to provide design services for consumers' products, architecture, furniture, and e-mobility solutions. One of their recent designs for German startup Holon was unveiled at CES 2023. Holon is a startup that was spun out of Bentley in 2021. The Holon Mover is a fully electric, autonomous robotaxi that Holon hopes will be able to compete against similar-looking robotaxis from Waymo, Cruise, Zoox, and Baidu. Lei sits down with Silvio to gather his thoughts on the ever-changing automotive sector, the partnership Pininfarina has with Holon that resulted in the Holon Mover, the L4-capable robotaxi, and how China is factoring into all of this upheaval in the space.
All right, Silvio, it's nice meeting you here in Vegas at CES 2023.
It's my great pleasure.
Always nice meeting you, talking to you. The last few times, I think, have only all been in China.
That is true.
And I met you in LA a few months ago, and now here, January 2023. So I'm wondering, starting off with this Holon, tell me about this collaboration. How did that start? What do you think about a tier one supplier moving into kind of a, we can call this like a smart EV startup almost.
That is true.
Right? So tell us about this kind of collaboration. How did that start? And what your thoughts?
We started collaborating with Bentley already 4 years ago. And in fact, we were supposed to make a very big announcement of our collaboration at the Geneva Motor Show 2020 that got cancelled because of COVID.
Right, I remember that.
And in fact, you might remember that we were working on a joint approach whereby Bentley would have supplied the electric skateboard, the electric platform, right? A modular one.
I think it was the one you're talking about is the one with Bosch, the 2.0.
That's right. That is true.
Yeah.
And then, well, regretfully, we had to make the presentation just virtual because the Geneva Motor Show was cancelled.
Right.
But the relationship stayed and grew to the extent that we are here today, where jointly we have understood that there is a great market emerging for people movers. So it is the first mile, the last mile that would make lots of difference, I think, in the life of people. So that is more or less the philosophy behind this collaboration, at least from our side, right? Mm-hmm. Because we've been involved that much into designing products for the last 92 years.
Sure.
But in reality, we design the experience for people in terms of mobility. So that is a true example of what extending the product into the service is, because this object is meant to be, yes, a means of transportation, but is a mean to offer a different experience to people moving, to people on the move.
Right.
I wouldn't enter, unless you wish, into some details or technical details of the project, but in general, let me tell you that the philosophy according to which this product has been conceived is based on the objective of offering a different way of moving people, providing them experiences that would then fit their own interests.
Right.
In a way that is, let's say, as you said at the beginning, a smart way, a smart product, but in reality, a smart experience. For the way in which that object is interfacing with the rest of the environment, with the infrastructure, with the rest of the mobility, and so forth. You see, you know that we've been growing that much into the world of architecture infrastructure in the last 10 years, right?
Buildings and
indeed,
right?
You know, just to tell you, to quantify what the shift has been, today, about 25% of our revenues are outside of our pure automotive. And they are into transportation, they are into architecture, they are into infrastructure, the world of infrastructure. Therefore, for us, it's quite natural look at products or services such as this one, and who best is that could accompany us, or we can then support, let me put that way, into this journey. Bentley, because we know them since several years, because of the past collaborations. And there is another thing that I think makes a lot of difference, that the Bentley is a 140 years company.
150, almost, right?
Almost 150, right? More than 140, yes.
140, yes.
And we are more than 90 years.
Yes.
So you see what is the legacy that both companies bring together. And Bentley is such a highly reputed supplier. Yes. And you said the supplier, but this is not supplying parts. This is much more. The collaboration that they have with automakers is very close to what we have. You know, most of our clients are clients with whom we work since decades.
Sure.
And we continue that collaboration. They have the same approach. So from the cultural standpoint, it was even a perfect fit.
Right. So far, is this the only collaboration with a tier one supplier-based company, or?
No, we have some other collaborations, some of them that have not been yet disclosed.
And is this partnership exclusive?
Or
will you be doing other people movers for other companies?
We don't have exclusivity. We have not granted reciprocal exclusivity at this stage. But you know, normally what we do when we collaborate with our partners, we tend to select the segments of the market in which we work.
Okay.
So we wouldn't work with someone that is competing head to head with Bentley.
Okay.
That would be silly for us.
And specifically, what did Pininfarina do on this?
Well, we have conceived whatever you see there. That is in terms of the design. That means exterior, interiors, the design of the experience.
Okay.
And we've been collaborating with the other partners of Bentley. That is Mobileye. That is Beep.
Right. I was at the Mobileye Professor Shashua's update.
Mobileye is impressive. Yeah. So you see, if you look at the partners that are, let's say, participating in this venture, you see the best of the industry, to be frank with you. Because you see, think about Beep. Beep, this people mover is mainly tailored for communities.
Right.
So that means that the public transportation authorities have a lot to say about it. And therefore, Beep, that is managing so many fleets across US, is the best company that would then input the needs of the final customers.
Yes.
Together with the legislation, the homologation requirements, and so forth. And then obviously Mobileye, for the reasons that you know.
Sure.
And the Bentley themselves, that they have, because Bentley, we think about them as being in the metal industry. But in reality, they have so much experience in electronics. And this is the reason why we had established already 4 years ago a partnership for the electric platforms for the automobile world. Right. So you see, that is the entire reasons behind this approach, and fits very much our purposes as well.
Okay. And you mentioned at the beginning this trend of these kind of people movers, autonomous shuttles. I mean, if you were at CES, if you followed CES, these things have been here almost every year since how many years? ZF has their latest shuttle. And all these tier ones, Continental, they had the Cube, right? If you know.
Yes.
Why do you think what's the spark behind this like Bentley pushing into?
Well, you know what? I think that we've seen a lot of concepts, but few, let's say, running prototypes, or even more than this. This project, this vehicle is going to be manufactured in 2 years. So the level of maturity of it is extremely high, right? Mm-hmm. Whilst in other cases, you don't see that level of maturity. I remember last year, for instance, I don't want to name the company for obvious reasons, but there was just a wall, and the wall was depicting a people mover.
Right.
Just was the concept, the idea behind. Right. But this is a real project.
Right. You know, Toyota Boshoku, they're showing something similar. Hyundai Mobis, all of these companies. So,
but Hyundai did it last year. So everyone is envisaging the idea, the project, but no one is then has gone that far. That to me is the game changer. So the spark is the need, certainly in the market. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that you need to be brave enough to make the first step. And now you see, when you talk about companies, the companies you have just mentioned, Toyota Bushoku or ZF or Hino, or excuse me,
Hyundai, Mobis.
Yes, Hyundai and so forth. I think they have the right and proper experience to put stuff like that in production, and it's not easy, right? Because we've seen so many failures in the past, in recent years, where companies have tried to get started, but they were unable to, and so forth. Instead, this case, when you think about the legacy, the manufacturing legacy, it's there. And the legacy means that you can then certainly get ready to produce on time, on quality, and on cost.
Switching gears a little bit.
Yes.
What do you see? We're now 2023. What do you see the trends this year and going forward that are that could be different than before? Or
well, okay. I think I would need to distinguish making a couple of premises. The first one is that probably the markets are going to be in need of more tailored products.
Okay.
I think that it is clear that what it goes well in China doesn't sell well in Europe, and vice versa,
I agree.
and US as well. So, and I think that the trend is that several Chinese automakers that are wanting and intending to extend their markets outside of the Chinese one, they will be in need of customizing their products. Let me give you just a simple example.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
China, in terms of HMI, they are far more advanced,
Far ahead. Yes.
far ahead than anyone else.
Yes.
But it doesn't simply mean that because they are far ahead, that is accepted or wanted in Europe. So the HMI, I think, needs to be redesigned. And you know, let me be specific on it. We are, as Pininfarina, investing a lot in this. You know, there is the space of the digital space.
Digital, okay.
Okay, that is where we are growing that much. And we're growing because, in fact, there is a need of tailoring the experiences, the digital experiences that have got to be anyhow encompassed in physical objects. And this is what I see. So, for instance, this is why I'm saying that China, the Chinese automakers, because, you know, let's put everything in perspective. China is, and it will continue to be, the largest auto market in the world. 26 million cars per year.
doubt.
That will continue. Well, they have been slowing down the COVID. Okay, that's fine. We've been hit. As Pininfarina, 2022 has been a very bad year, really bad year. Okay. But we're counting that much on the rebounds of the markets.
It's coming.
You know, it's coming. It's coming. It's just a question of, and you know, the inertia of resilience, as now people used to say. I'm a physicist, so I prefer to talk about inertia than resilience. You know, to a certain extent, the inertia of that market is very slow. It's very small, so it stops immediately, but it starts immediately. Unlike other countries, unlike other markets. So China will come back. Europe will stay as a market. I'm not sure whether it will grow that much. It will be much more specialized. To me, Europe is still the most sophisticated auto market of the world.
Okay.
More than US, no doubts. To me.
Okay.
This is my perception, but I think that is the case.
Okay.
But these three very large markets, four markets, there's Japan, there is China and Asia Pacific, there is EMEA, and then there is Americas, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, that is the way in which I would segment the market. Each market is in need of some specific needs, some specific features that are, one doesn't fit all. So they need to be much more specialized. This is where I think automakers are going, the direction that they are taking. And people such as us that are involved in design have a lot to say, I think, in this transition. It's very sophisticated, much more sophisticated than in the past. Right? This digital transformation is there already, no doubts about it. But the market is going to be much more polarized, I think, unlike the past. Mm-hmm. High segment of the market, or let's say more than high segment of the market, but cars to be driven over the weekends, and some other cars instead that will be used as a commodity Monday through Friday, let's say, and then people movers. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, I know that I'm putting that much on the table, but
sure. Now you said last year was bad. That must have included China as well. Bad in terms, I believe you mean as business wise.
Yeah, the business has been because when you see I mean, if I look at the numbers of the number of the days in which we were able to have a full team at work in presence in our offices in Shanghai. I mean, I think it must have been probably 10%.
Okay.
10% of the working days. So that tells you how much struggle.
But, I mean, you're not alone.
No,
Almost
not at
everybody's
all.
like that,
Yeah.
right?
But
So
in fact, this is why I'm saying, yes, it has been a very bad year, 2022 in China, for the market overall and in particular. I mean, but however, that doesn't mean that the market is gone. The market is there, it's still there, and it will be much more sophisticated. You know, I am of the opinion that when you have a shock in the economy, that is the moment in which you have the opportunities. You need to find different ways of serving the market.
Right. So when you're down, you can only go up. You can't go any
No,
further down. Right? That's the other way to
look at that.
Look at it. So how? I mean, as a design house, engineering design. I mean, we talked many times before about the Chinese clients that you've had. Some successful, some are already no longer
in existence.
Right. Remember a few years ago in Shanghai.
Yeah.
You know, companies like Brilliance.
Yeah.
In the early days, as we know, they had some good products. Yeah. Even JAC, I think, was one of your. But thanks to NIO, right? NIO, I think, is helping the JAC at least from the manufacturing side. So, what are your business, potential as a design house servicing or serving Chinese customers? Is there still a lot of opportunities, or do you see some, headwinds? What is the situation there?
Well, I think that in the last, let's say, 5 years, in general, the automotive makers in China have increased that much their expertise.
Expertise, yes.
No doubts.
In-house, yeah.
In-house.
Yes.
And therefore, you see, the role of companies such as us might have been, let's say, diminished to a certain extent. But this is where the difference this is where, though, companies that have something different to offer can make a difference. Because unlike some of our competitors that are only based in China, we derive less than 15% of our revenues from the Chinese market. So that means that we have a global view on this industry. And therefore, we understand, or we believe that we understand very well, how the taste is evolving and what the future trends will be. And yes, there are. The molded design is, there are lots of small companies that are, let's say, providing services and so forth. But there are very few companies today that have processes enabling them to conceive not just the design of the exterior of the interior of a vehicle and then maybe even prototyping it and releasing for production. There is what comes before and after this that will come into play. First, we continue to be able, you see, our processes are identical to the one of the most prestigious automakers. So we talk the same language. Okay. So it's not that you hire a few contractor and that they let them design cars, but they don't know what happened before and after. For us, it's very much different. And then in addition, the fact that when we talk about experience designing these days, but we've been soliciting emotions since 92 years, first physically and then digitally, and now combined. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is something that makes a difference. It makes a difference in the industry, I think.
Yeah. So recently at the Paris Motor Show, I don't know if you've been there or not.
No, I'm afraid I was in Taiwan.
The Chinese brands took over Paris Motor Show, right? So that's one example. And here, the Rising Auto R7 from SASE Motor
Yes.
is exhibiting here from the Luminar
Yeah.
LiDAR.
Yes.
And then Mobileye has the Zeekr
Yes.
001. The
Yes.
Zeekr CEO, he was here. He's from China. Neo ESA in the robotaxi
Yes.
side. I'm seeing more and more, first, the confidence of Chinese brands in terms of their technology and design.
Yes.
And second, slowly, they're coming. Either Europe, here in North America, BYD. When do you think they will become mainstream in Western markets?
It wouldn't take that long, I think. Because, as I said, the companies that you have just mentioned are those that in the jungle have emerged. Because if you remember, 5 years ago, when we used to meet in Shanghai or in Beijing, you remember, there were so many different startups.
Yes.
Now they have, most of them have gone.
There's some consolidation going on.
Consolidations happening and so forth. When you talk about NIO, they've been persevering for years.
Yes.
But they have a strategy. Their products are very well thought for the industry, for the market. And I think, in these days, you wouldn't then, let's say, abandon you would embrace the idea of not just simply buying the brand, because these guys are already building their own brand. When you talk about NIO, Zeekr, they have their own image in the market already. Because in the end, what is a brand? The brand is the ability of doing consistently over time the best that you can. Nothing else.
Yes. And
nothing
I think
else.
NIO has done a great job in
This is
that.
it. Yeah. This is it.
Yeah. Great. So last question. What's your priority as CEO of Pininfarina for this year? What do you like to achieve?
Well, in 2023, as I said, I would like to gain the trust of our clients, or let's say, as we used to call them, partners, in the digital world, more than what we've been doing in the past. For the very simple reason that, we will never be a digital company. Pininfarina will never be a digital company. It will be a phygital company. But why? Because we know how to solicit emotions first through physical objects. And then, let's say, combining in this physical object, there is the digital side of it that makes it phygital. So this is why we are this is my priority, to make sure that our partners understand this. And I invite you to come to visit us in Italy anytime soon, because we've done a lot of stuff. We work a lot with mixed reality. Yeah. We work a lot in the HMI development, interaction design, and so forth. Okay. So, something that you would be surprised. But the way in which we are using, for instance, these digital means today is such that we have reduced a lot the development times, and therefore the cost of the developments, but at the same time enhancing the flexibility of and making what the guys in Silicon Valley used to do in the past, that says the digital prototyping. All right. Yes. Well, we don't call it that way because I don't like that word, but in essence, it's more or less the same thing, Yeah. So then getting the end user that much involved in the process, and so this is my priority. And the second priority that I have is that we have a seamless. Again, the market should understand that we have a seamless ability of joining dots in different industries. Holon project is exactly that one.
Yes.
Because it's infrastructure, it's architecture, is public mobility, is public spaces, but it's experience of people.
Yes. And maybe the third priority is go back to China.
That is true.
Thank you for your
so
time.
much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always nice to talk to you.
It's my great pleasure.
I know. I don't remember the first time I talked to you, but it must have been more than 10 years ago.
I think so.
Roughly 10 years ago.
Probably 10 years ago. Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
Thanks to you. And
Hi, this is your co-host Lei Xing. I've known Silvio for at least a decade, and I've interviewed him on numerous occasions in China, at the Beijing or Shanghai auto shows, in my previous capacity as chief editor of China Auto Review. Every time I talk to him, he always has something enlightening to say, and it was no different this time. Whether it was the comment on Chinese automakers needing to customize their products to cater to consumer tastes outside of China, or companies like Pininfarina becoming phygital. As he pointed out, the role of design houses like Pininfarina has diminished as Chinese automakers increase their expertise in design and engineering in-house. So it will be interesting to see the evolution of the roles that design houses will play going forward.
Lei and I will be sharing more of our conversations with the men and women around the world, moving the EV, AV, and mobility sectors forward as part of this China EVs and More Max series. Some folks will be instantly recognizable, but some will just be people that are doing amazing things in the space that we think deserve to be highlighted. Don't worry though, Lei and I will continue to host our live weekly China EVs and More Twitter Spaces room that summarizes that week's most important news coming out of the China EV, AV, and mobility space. For those that can't catch the live show, you can find the China EVs and More pod on all major platforms or wherever you normally get your podcasts. As EV adoption reaches its global tipping point, it'll be even more important to stay updated on everything that's happening here. Lei and I are confident that China EVs and More is the best resource to do that. Until next time, as always, thanks for listening.